Hey there, folks. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Deliverability Dialogues. We spend hours crafting the perfect email campaign, from the subject line to that compelling CTA, but sometimes those emails just don't make it to the inbox. Our listener today is trying to troubleshoot just that. They're wondering why their emails aren't getting through. So let's deep dive into some of the reasons behind this frustrating phenomenon and arm ourselves with the knowledge to fix it. So we're diving into this awesome guide today called Email Sent But Not Received by Recipient, What is Causing This and How to Fix. As email marketers, we all love to jump into complicated stuff right away.
Yeah.
But this guide is smart. It says to start with the super simple checks.
Yep, the basics.
Like seriously basic? Did you actually click send?
Uh-huh. You'd be surprised how often that's the issue. Always worth a quick peek in your sent folder before you go into full panic mode.
For sure. And while we're talking about simple stuff, typos, we're all pros here, but hey, it happens to the best of us, right?
Yeah.
A slipped finger, missed keystroke.
It happens to everyone. And in email marketing, it can be a killer. You gotta double check that email address because unlike those magical Google searches, email doesn't have autocorrect to save the day.
So true. One little typo, and your email's gone on a one-way trip to nowhere land.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's say you've covered those bases. You hit send, and the email address is correct.
Yeah.
Now let's think about what might be happening on the recipient's end.
Okay.
One possibility, though less common these days, is a full inbox.
Yeah, remember back in the day when we had no storage? Thankfully, most people have tons of storage now, but it's still possible.
So full inboxes aside, what other roadblocks could be lurking on the recipient's end?
Well, those pesky spam filters are always a possibility.
It's crazy to think about, but spam makes up almost half of all email traffic these days.
It's insane, right? Those filters are working overtime to protect people, so we got to make sure our emails are playing by the rules.
Absolutely.
Right. You also need to think about your email design and formatting. Large image-to-text ratios can raise suspicion, as can poorly formatted HTML code.
But even if you do everything right, there's still a chance your email could end up in the spam folder.
Unfortunately, yes. It's always a good practice to ask recipients to check their spam folders, especially if they're expecting an important message from you, and encourage them to add your email address to their contact list or whitelist.
It's like giving your email a VIP pass to the inbox.
Exactly. It signals to the email provider that your messages are desired and should be prioritized.
Okay, let's talk about something that every email marketer dreads: blacklists. You mentioned that the guide talks about this. What should we know?
Blacklists are basically lists of IP addresses or domains that have been flagged for sending spam. If you land on one of those lists, it can be really tough to get your emails delivered. It's like having a giant do not deliver stamp on your emails.
Oh man, that sounds scary.
It can be a real nightmare. But the good news is that there are tools out there that can help you check if you're on a blacklist. And if you are, the guide gives you some steps you can take to try and get off of it. It takes time and patience, though. It's definitely better to avoid getting blacklisted in the first place. That's where those email authentication policies come in, SPF, DQ, and DMRC.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. I know they're important, but sometimes it feels like a whole different language.
I get it. Think of SPF, DQ, and DMRC like a security system for your emails. SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework, and it basically verifies that the server sending the email is allowed to send emails for your domain. It's kind of like checking the ID of the person sending the email.
So it's basically saying, hey, this email is legit. It's really from who it says it's from.
Gotcha.
What about DKIM?
DKIM stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail, and it adds a special digital signature to your email. It's like sealing the envelope with a tamper-proof seal to make sure nobody messed with it along the way. This helps prevent things like spoofing and phishing.
Okay, so SPF checks the sender, and DKIM makes sure nobody tampered with the message. What does DMRC do?
DMRC stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, and it's kind of like the big boss of email security. It tells email providers what to do if an email fails SPF and DKIM checks. You can actually set a policy to quarantine suspicious emails, send them to the spam folder, or even block them completely. It's all about protecting your reputation as a sender and making sure your legitimate emails actually get through. It might seem a bit technical, but setting these things up is really important if you want to maintain a good sender reputation and improve your deliverability.
Now, there was something else in the guide that I wanted to chat about: malware attacks. Is it possible that our emails aren't getting delivered because our accounts have been hacked and are being used to send spam?
It's a scary thought, but yeah, it can definitely happen. If you get some malware on your computer, it can use your email account to send out spam without you even knowing. And that can lead to your IP address getting blacklisted and your emails ending up in the spam folder, or even worse, not getting delivered at all.
So how do we protect ourselves from these malware attacks? What does the guide say?
The guide really stresses the importance of strong passwords and running regular security scans. Having good antivirus software and keeping it up to date is crucial. Malware is always evolving, so you gotta stay one step ahead.
What if you think your account might already be compromised?
The guide says you gotta act fast. If you see weird stuff in your sent folder or you start getting bounce back messages for emails you never sent, that's a big red flag. Change your password right away and run a full system scan with your antivirus. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from simple typos to blacklists, malware, and email authentication. It's been a real deep dive into the world of email deliverability troubleshooting.
Yeah, we've looked at all sorts of things that can go wrong and hopefully given everyone some tools to help them fix those deliverability problems.
And remember, this is just the beginning. This guide is a great starting point, but there's a whole universe of information out there to help you become a true deliverability expert. Lots to think about there. Until next time, everyone, happy emailing.